Hey everybody, welcome to GeekyKOOL presents Geeky Cinephiles, episode 5. And we're going to go with a little vampire movie, Nosferatu from 2024. Sorry that we're late. I was having some technical problems, so hopefully you get those things resolved soon. But I've got my buddy Joe here with me as we always do, and we're going to try to
Hello.
rush through this to try to get this done for you guys. And he's going to have to leave in a little bit. But anyway, so Joe, tell me what you think of Nosferatu.
Man, I was scared. I was I was scared. So yeah,
Yeah.
when I first started it, I wasn't like, oh, this is gonna be an awesome movie. I can't wait to watch it. And so it was I had a headache and I was just kind of
Oh, yeah.
setting is important too when you watch a movie, setting
True.
and
Yep.
audience. But so I'm like, all right, just get through this. And sometimes those older period pieces can seem to drag on,
Right. Right.
but it didn't drag on. It was really close. But as soon as they introduced Orlok, it was
Yep.
caught my attention. It was like,
Yep.
whoa. And yeah, then I couldn't stop watching from then on out.
And he's a very different vampire than, say, Dracula. The way
Hmm.
he reacts to people, interacts with people. Um, yeah. So this movie is actually based off the 1922 silent film Nosferatu, which was a loosely adapted version of Dracula without permission. The wife of Bram Stoker had denied them to make it, made in Germany, and you'll notice that the movie is actually set in Germany rather than England, like
Yeah,
Dracula.
yeah,
And they made some changes, but the I forget which company it was. May have been a German company, but one of the countries demanded that all the films, because it had violated copyright for Dracula, go out and be destroyed.
oh wow.
And about 100 of the films survived,
Hmm.
and some of them ended up in the United States. And so it actually premiered in the United States in 1929, the silent version. So silent films were on their way out at that time, but it
Hmm.
did hit and capture the imagination of the American populace. Some of
Yeah,
them were very upset by it because it wasn't it was a little more graphic than what they expected. So
yeah, and if we've all seen that clip, and that clip is kind of like a part of culture now. That
right, right,
it's all seen, but it's seen as like the cheesy, terrible makeup, terrible directing. But no, it wasn't. It was just 100 years ago.
right, exactly. It
And
was
it's
it
the
was
guy
over
that's
100
bald.
years ago. Right.
The guy is bald, and he has really long nails and fingers, and even that still looks a little creepy too. But
Well, and they stuck with that in this version of the movie. So, which I was glad they really kind of kept this form.
yeah,
Where in Dracula, after he drinks a victim or two, he becomes this good-looking, handsome, sexualized vampire.
yeah,
This one, there's no sexualization, there's no handsomeness. He's a monster from the get-go, and
yeah,
then he
yeah,
just stays there.
yeah.
So, yeah,
And they did a great job of kind of like the old Steven Spielberg Jaws, a metaphor is don't show the shark too soon.
right, right,
They did a
exactly.
great job of making him dark, and you couldn't see him. You could tell
Right.
the character's trying to notice who he is, and oh, that accent. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was scared. I was scared.
Good. That's what
So
they wanted, right?
yeah, yeah. Okay, so tell me. So in the movie did Ellen, is that the main
Yep.
woman's name?
Ellen, yep.
Did she pray? Was she lonely, and did she pray for someone to love her? And that's
Well,
how this, or is that just part of the story?
well, in the movie, well, in this movie, and I think it's also in the original version. I've seen the original, but it's been a while. But in the movie, she basically is a little kid when she's first introduced to him,
Yeah.
and she realizes she's got some sort of ability to talk to spirits. So in this movie, Count Orlok is a vampire, but he also has some demonic ties,
Yeah.
and so her reaching out and trying to find somebody that would befriend her because she was so unusual, she ends up waking up this vampire who's been asleep for centuries.
Okay.
And then he wants that connection with her. That's why he's searching for her, is not necessarily for sex like in Dracula or for creating more vampires, but because of that connection he'd felt with her when she was a girl.
Wow.
And then she still's having nightmares and stuff and going on, but she kind of makes a life for herself, gets married, happily married to this nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Count Orlok figures out that she's happy and all this stuff, and so he's able to devise a scheme to bring her husband to him. In that whole plot of the land and everything else, which he comes to Germany, which in Dracula it's England, and
Mm-hmm.
does that whole thing. And there's a lot. Have you seen Bram Stoker's Dracula from
So
91 or 92?
Gary Oldman, Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, yes.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's a really good version of Dracula. Now, the book and the movie are still quite a bit different. I've read the book. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
there were
really?
chapters in that book that were so. I just like, come on, just kill her. Because there were like 3 chapters in a row where the main female's friend has been bitten, and they're trying to save her, and they're doing all this stuff, and they save her for one more night, and then you go to another night, and it's like, oh my gosh, it reminded me of Tolkien's trees description in the first Lord of the Rings book. Anyway, but there's some differences there. But comparing kind of the two, there's a lot of similarities on what goes on. He comes over by ship. He's in the casket. It's overrun by a plague, which is him basically doing that. You've got the rat. You've even got the servant, who's a different name than it is. I'm trying to remember the Dracula one versus this one, but there's some distinctions, but there's a lot of similarity in feel on how the movie is shot and everything else. But the characters themselves are actually very different.
Yeah.
So especially Count Orlok, he's very different on how he deals with stuff.
So okay, that was one of my questions. Was what was Orlok getting by inviting Henry, the husband, to Transylvania?
Well, he was getting an ability to be able to get land so he could go to Germany, but he was also trying to get rid of him so he could up that connection with her.
Okay.
Because she's lonely now, and as long as Henry was there, she wasn't focusing on Count Orlok. But and then so she becomes more needy, starts having the nightmares while she's at the friend's house because Count Orlok is able to get to her because she is not as safe as she was before.
Yeah, and he could get into the other woman's mind too.
He had that ability, yeah.
Yeah, that's long meant one of the traits of vampires. Yeah, it's interesting.
Very much so that you do the psychological, you get people engrossed in what's going on. Now, in this one, it wasn't so much an attraction because in Dracula, there's that attraction and, like I said, sexualizedness to Dracula. At least in the movies, there is some in the book too.
Right.
There's more in the movies, but in this movie, there's less that than it is he's kind of exerting himself in a place of power
Yeah.
and fulfilling a vacuum of need there. So of socialization, which is where they started their relationship. As a girl, she started socializing with him, not knowing that she was inviting a vampire, to,
Wow.
yeah. And then she
Yeah.
was also having other different spiritual things going on. So yeah, it's kind of crazy trying to figure out exactly what's going on through part of it.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, I think they still did a pretty good
Oh,
job
they did.
of not making it too confusing,
Right, right,
where you ask enough questions but not too many.
right. I love the scene after he gets to Germany where his shadow kind of goes over the whole city.
Yeah, that was
That was pretty
creepy.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
The ending is probably the biggest difference between Dracula and in this movie Nosferatu,
Remind
because
me of how Dracula ends.
so Dracula ends with her husband and what's his name, the vampire hunter, oh
Van
my,
Helsing.
Van Helsing. Van Helsing go chasing after them, and they catch up to him in Transylvania, and is able to pull Dracula out and stab him in the heart on his transport back to his castle.
Yeah,
So
Winona Ryder,
it's a
right?
right, right.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
go on
yeah.
that big long chase, and they finally catch up to him. Where this one, so they go in and they save the girl. This one, the girl sacrifices herself
Mm-hmm.
to prevent Orlok from being able to take over this whole land.
It was like a curse.
It
She has to
was. It was like
sacrifice
she
herself,
did.
or
She
else
had,
he's going to
and
drive everybody nuts.
the Van Helsing like character, and I forget what his name was, Professor something. He uh, he went in and basically he knew what was going to have to happen, and kind of told her that, and they kind of inferred that they had a talk, and then he keeps the husband busy. That's why they go to the tomb and all that, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
He knows that there's nothing there because he knows what's going to happen next.
Well, okay, so who's Van Helsing in that? Is that
It is. Let's
the
see if I can
older
find it.
guy,
It's the
Providence? Is
older.
it
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Henry's boss?
yeah. Well, no, not Henry's boss. It
Okay.
is
Willem Dafoe.
William Defoe's character. Yes.
Wow. I always
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
Van
yeah.
Helsing was a vampire hunter.
Well, he was a priest and vampire hunter. So, and I think he gave up the priesthood to be a vampire hunter.
But he
Um,
didn't even get this guy. He didn't even hunt him.
no, in this one, he does not go
Yeah,
hunting after.
he's
He,
rendered. He's just
he
fascinated with the occult and he
right.
wants to be a part of what's happening. Yeah, that was crazy.
So,
Yeah. So
John Godot was the name of the character,
yeah, yeah, that's
and very
right.
much Van Helsing like.
Yeah.
Other than he doesn't get him, he doesn't do anything to get him there. He
Right.
realizes the only way to save the city is for her to sacrifice herself, which is
Yeah.
crazy. But so yeah,
Well, and the ending was so initially I thought that not a spoiler alert here, everyone, but he does go in and suck her blood.
he does. He does.
And initially, I thought that he died from the blood
Right.
because that was he kept saying the blood will break the covenant. The blood will break the covenant, right? Something like that.
Because the
Um,
blood kept him there. That's what
yeah.
kept
So
him
that's
in the bed while the sun rose.
that's
Because if
what
you
it
watch the
was.
sun rises and she dies from the blood loss that he had sucked her. He was so infatuated with her that he couldn't
Yeah,
stop sucking her dry.
that's right.
And in doing that, he lost track of the time, and the sun comes up and kills him.
Yeah, but I would have thought son kills him a lot worse than that. He just kind of like faded away.
Yeah, he just well, and it depends on the vampire movie on
Yeah,
what the
yeah, it
son
did. Yeah,
does. But
it
yeah,
depends on the vampire movie.
but yeah, that's how they explained it because I had to go back and rewatch it and also had to go back in and kind of look at some of the notes out there on like what exactly was that? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but yeah, it was the son killing her, killing him, and that was
yeah,
the issue was that he allowed himself to get sucked in by sucking her.
yeah.
And that's how
That's a good one.
that's how she sacrifices herself. Is
Yeah.
it? Which then I'm like, man, can you imagine her husband's despair from that, right?
All
Like,
right.
yeah, and he has to hate this professor, right? He's like, you tricked me, and my wife is now dead because of it.
Oh yeah. So the professor, her's boss, right? He kept saying, "This is Providence. This is Providence." Why
Well,
did he go crazy? And that's who you were talking about earlier. He went crazy and pushed them together.
well,
Okay, never mind.
it wasn't because he was crazy. He was doing it because he saw that was the only way to end it. Was
Okay,
that
okay.
the only way to sneak around this guy was to find his one weakness, which was her.
Yeah.
His
Okay.
connection with her was the weakness for Kent Orlock.
Yeah.
And so he was banking on that would be Kent Orlock's downfall.
Yeah. What in Dracula, did she die in Dracula?
No, she doesn't die.
Okay,
She
okay.
is almost converted over. She does have her blood sucked, and I think the blood given to her to make her a vampire, but she doesn't die. When they
Right.
kill Dracula, it frees her from that curse. But she
That's right.
always has some extra juice there.
Yeah.
The what movie was that? I'm trying to remember. It's not a very good movie, but there are points of it that were interesting to me. The one that
Vamp-
had Sean Connery as Captain Nemo
the
and
League of Extraordinary
the
Gentlemen.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is
Yeah,
based off
yeah,
a comic book that I hear is amazing.
yeah,
The
yeah.
movie version, not so much, but I loved how because that's her character who's like part vampire in that is
Uh-huh.
actually from Dracula. That's
Oh,
what's her
okay.
name from Dracula. So that's why they play it that way.
Okay.
But because she was bitten and partially converted, but not fully converted. So
Yeah.
anyway,
So I got really uncomfortable when at the end he's sucking her blood and
yep, yep,
she puts her hand behind his head and
yep.
almost like hugging him. Ugh, it made
She's
me a
trying.
little.
She's trying to keep him there because she
Uh,
knows what time it is.
yeah, but it seemed like
That was
she may have liked it.
liked it too much. Yeah, possible.
Yeah.
According to what I read, it was because she was doing that to kill him.
Okay.
She knew that she knew that if he was that far into it, that would hold him there while the
Yeah.
sun came up. And
Yeah.
she'd left the shades open in that manner so that when the sun came up, it would kill him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Are you ready for some fun facts?
Yeah, let's give us some fun facts. Yeah.
So Ellen, I believe, is
Ellen. Yep.
Hollywood royalty. Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's
Yeah.
kid.
Yep.
I bet she had to work hard in Hollywood to get that role. She just probably toiled and toiled for years.
The really funny thing is sometimes those kids have a harder time with it
Yeah,
because
yeah, that's
people
true.
don't want to give them that.
Yeah,
That's why you've got Nicolas Cage, is because he was a Coppola and then he changed his name so he wouldn't get stuff given to him.
yep. And then, okay, so I guess there's some of the dialogue is a nod to the original dialogue of
Yeah, it is.
1929.
It is.
You are late. The hour of midnight has passed, and all the servants have retired. I didn't realize that.
Yep. A lot of it is pretty much mirror image now. Of course, the original 22/29, because In the U.S., we got it in 29, but it was the film. I think it may have been somewhat changed a little bit, but it pretty much was the same film from 22, being the silent film. Of course, you don't actually have them saying the words; you have them mouthing things, and the little bubbles would
Cue
come up
cards.
with cue cards would come up and say what it was. Which silent movies are interesting, but they're much more difficult to watch, especially since we've had 100 years of talkies now, so we're just used to them.
Can you imagine what would that be like? What's it going to be like 100 years from now?
Right.
Are people
Everything will
like,
be AI?
You couldn't walk into the movie itself and play a character. Really, you couldn't do that? Like, yeah, that's funny to think where it'll go. Okay, how much?
Interesting.
How much do you think it was made for, and how much did it make?
Oh, that I don't know. I did not look that part up.
So it was made for 50 million, and it made 181 million.
That's doing pretty good in my book.
Yeah, yep, it's really good. Got nominated for 5 Oscars.
It did. I did know that.
It was filmed in parts of Transylvania, Romania.
Right. I knew that also.
Okay,
and that opening or that scene where he is trying to get to the castle, that was really kind of cool. And then they had the kind of the almost cult-like sacrificing, and then it's because they're vampires, but he has no clue. And that countryside is just beautiful there. So
yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. That's a very good choice, Larry, because it definitely challenged me to be uncomfortable with myself and what I was seeing, but at the same time,
it was an uncomfortable movie. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, IMDb likes it. Okay, 7.2 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes says 84%. And that is with the regular. Interestingly, that's the critic number. The fan number is only 73%. So the fans didn't like it as much as the critics did.
I would think if you're going to see that kind of a movie, you're into that kind of vampire stuff.
You would think so. Now, they may have thought it was going to be... fans may have thought it was too close to Dracula.
Yeah.
Fans may have thought that it was strange that the vampire wasn't turning sexy, was completely a monster all the time.
Right.
But, it kind of takes them out of some of the tropes of recent vampire movies.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But what were they expecting? That's always the question. I thought it was great. Yeah. I enjoyed it. It wasn't comfortable at points, but I thought it was a really interesting vampire movie. Because sometimes vampire movies can just be mundane. You know, if they're really well done, they're amazing. Lost Boys, incredible.
Oh yeah. Blade
was awesome.
So, but John Carpenter's Vampires wasn't great. It was okay. But
no, it was. Yeah. What was there was another one from the 80s also that was a really good vampire movie. But every time you have a good hit, there's always something that's just kind of like, Interview of Vampire was good.
Yeah.
There's some other ones that have been good, but then you get ones where you're like, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that 80s one now. I'm stuck on that one.
What was it? Oh my gosh. Because there's some bad ones in the 80s also. They're talking about Nicolas Cage. He's in one.
What is it?
Let's see, 80s.
Yeah, I want to look that up.
And that one was he was in the one I'm thinking of is Fright Night, which is really good.
Oh yeah, I've never seen it, but I've seen it out there.
Okay, so there's a remake that's also very good.
Really?
The original one and the remake. The remake actually has David from Doctor Who, David Tennant. David Tennant is in it, and it's really good. Okay. what was it? Oh, Vampire Kiss. That was the one with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into the Twilights?
You know, here's the thing with the Twilight movies, and it's just my personal opinion. Um, I I watched the first one and went, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm sure the book's better. Okay,
Yeah.
so the second one came out, and I rented it, and what I never give up on a movie, Joe. Never, ever, ever
Okay.
give up on a movie. I stick
Good.
with it till the end because I think there's some sort of redemption.
Hell yeah. Good for you.
But the second Twilight movie, I got halfway through it and said, if I watch this anymore, I'm going to start cutting on my wrists. The
I think
acting
that
is
was
terrible. It's like all that she was doing is whining constantly how horrible life was. And I'm like, oh my Lord. So I'm just like, I'm done. My wife was like, you're never done. Like I didn't give up on
wow.
Vanilla Skies, which my wife
Oh
did
yeah.
because Vanilla Skies is a really weird, crazy movie
I love
that
it.
I still don't know what I saw.
Yeah.
But it's definitely out there. But so I watched that whole thing through and went, okay, what did I watch? I don't know. But
Yeah.
with the Twilight ones, I'm just like, no, I'm out. I'm so out. But
Yeah.
that's
I
okay.
mean, maybe the books were good, so I'm not going to dog it. You know, it is
Right.
hard to make a movie into a book.
It yes, it is.
How about Queen of the Damned? Have you seen that?
I have.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, that one is. Doesn't that one have Selma Hayek dancing?
Yeah, that's Dusk Till Dawn, from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, that is from Dusk to Dawn. That's right.
Yeah.
But I have seen Queen of the Damned also. That one's also really good. Yeah.
And then one of the bad ones I think you would probably agree with is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Right?
Yes, but I actually love it.
You do?
It's horrible, but it's so cheesy that
Yeah.
I love.
I can see that.
I'm like, okay. It's one of those things where you're like, I have to hide my face when I tell people that I actually do like it. I'm like, I know it's horrible. I know it's bad.
I watched it.
But I find it fun.
Yeah.
I watched it last Halloween time. Just kind of like, oh, what should I watch? Because I'd Lost Boys and watched all these things. And I'm like, what else should I watch? I'm like, okay, I'll watch Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter again. I'm like, this is terrible, but I kind of love it.
As if being the president of the United States isn't enough, he needs to be a hunter too, vampire hunter.
Well, he mostly did the hunting before.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Just a little bit afterwards.
I watched the whole thing. I didn't say I watched it again, but I've watched it.
I will probably watch it again because it's one of those hidden pleasures where you're like, okay,
yeah,
I know it's bad, but I'm still going to keep watching it because, well, you know.
Yeah. And you know what? I've never actually seen Buffy.
Oh, the original Buffy movie.
Yeah.
That needs to be the next one for my pick because.
Is that good?
Yes. It's different. I don't know if you watched the TV show.
No, I didn't.
Okay. The TV show is amazing. 7 seasons. They take it in a very. There's moments of levity in it, but they take it in a more serious manner. The movie doesn't really take itself seriously.
Yeah.
To the point you've got a cheerleader who's a valley girl and all this stuff, and the person who was supposed to train her to be a vampire slayer has been looking for her, but when she was young, they did plastic surgery to get rid of this mark.
Oh, of course.
Because you're a valley girl, right?
Yeah.
And you have Paul Rubens, aka Pee Wee Herman.
Are you serious?
As a vampire, and that's the first.
Oh, wow.
It's such a good role for him. I think he was Cobblepot's father, so the Penguin's father in Batman
Returns.
Where Batman Returns with the Penguin. And he's just in it for just a moment. but he's so good as kind of this dark character there. But they
Mm-hmm.
take him as basically the second in command with Buffy. And his death scene is worth price of admission alone. His
Yeah.
death
Okay.
scene is awesome. So
Okay.
no, Buffy is worth seeing. Buffy's a good one.
Do you think if that actor that did interview or Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, do you think he avoided putting that on his resume when he applied for other jobs?
You know,
I'm kidding.
from most of my actor friends, because unless you hit it big, you take whatever roles
Oh
are
yeah,
offered.
yeah.
There comes a point to where you are able to be a little more selective. But a
Yeah.
lot of times it's like you're offering me a role, you're going to pay me
Yeah.
$5 million to be in this movie, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Yeah, I'm in.
Worked for
Because
60 days.
I got to work, right? I got to work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and everybody, all the good actors did it. They all came out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They all have something that they're like, I wish that wasn't on my resume, but
Yeah.
I needed to eat. So
Yep.
you know. So I'm sure it's probably like that. But yeah, it's one of those where you're like, maybe not your brightest moment, but
Yeah.
still had a lot of fun, right? So
Well, I think I got to get going.
you do, and we hit the 30-minute mark. Before we go,
Oh, perfect.
what do you rate this movie?
Yeah, I give it a B plus.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't forget it. It was not a
Right.
movie that I'll like easily forget. It'll be like, yeah, I remember seeing that movie.
Yeah,
And
I'm with you.
And I remember when it grabbed my attention. So,
Right. I
how
give it
about
a
you?
B plus also. It's
Yeah.
not Lost Boys level,
Right.
which is hard to beat.
Yeah.
But it's a really good vampire movie. I love the nods to the original movie they took it from.
Yeah. Yeah.
There have been other remakes prior that have made it mix more with Dracula, and this one's kept it very straight that this is Nosferatu. It's not Dracula.
Right.
So I've appreciated that. So yeah, B plus. It was sensationally done, and it's disturbing at points, which you kind of want in a horror monster movie, right?
Sure.
So,
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
all right.
Good choice, Larry.
Well, thank you. All right. Let us know what you guys think out there. Have you seen this movie? Do you want to see it if you haven't? And do you rate it? What do you rate it? Were you on part of the people that did not like this movie as much, or did you think it was a good one? So let us know.
Or do you even need to still watch it after listening to us?
Well, hopefully they will make up their own mind if they haven't seen it. But if you've seen it already, definitely let us know what you think. So,
yep.
All right. Well,
thanks for having me, Larry.
Hey, always happy to do this show. It's always fun. So keep watching movies out there. Stay geeky, everyone. And we'll talk to you hopefully next week.
Adios.
Adios. Soon as I can figure out how to go out of here. So far, we're still live. I'm not trying to do that, but yeah, I need to. Oh, in stream right there.